Thank you for joining us for this Action News special, For the Children's Sake. I'm Alan Marsden.
And I'm Kelly Som. Action News decided to produce this program because of the series of stories that have come across our desks in the last 6 months. Stories that make us as people and as parents want to ask tough questions to those who are supposed to protect the children.
2 of the cases resulted in the deaths of 2 bright, vivacious children. Another in the near death of a 7-year-old boy found badly beaten in a Shasta County home. And they were not the only ones let down by their parents or a system which was supposed to find them a safe place to live. Here's Britt Carlson.
Kelly and Alan, Action News received this 259-page report from the California Department of Social Services. It includes the number of child fatalities or near fatalities in the state. The most recent statistics are from the year 2007. During that year, the California Department of Social Services received 260 notifications of child deaths that were suspected by the Child Welfare Agency as being caused by abuse and/or neglect. Of those cases, 187 deaths were found to have been caused by neglect, 46 from abuse, 10 from both neglect and abuse, and 17 from other causes. Here is a breakdown of the specific causes of death. 67 were classified as homicides. 32 children died as a result of some sort of trauma to the head. This included shaking. 1 was caused by medical neglect, and 1 child died as a result of being burned. Even more disturbing were the ages of the children. 153 of those 260 were 4 years old or younger. Of those 153, 41% were between the ages of birth to 1 year. They are numbers that are hard to grasp, but then so is the death of any child, as in this next case where a Butte County couple sits in jail for the murder of 1 adopted daughter and the beating of another. Here again is Alan Marsden.
The town is called Paradise, but it could just as easily go by any number of equally pleasant-sounding names: Tranquility, Serenity. So imagine the shock on the morning of February 6 when this community awoke to the news that a little girl was dead, allegedly at the hands of her own parents.
I don't know what their motivation was. I think they were disciplining children. They just went simply too far than what they should have done.
The 911 call came in at 1 a.m. A young girl not breathing at a home on Crestwood Drive. A tragedy was unfolding inside the home of Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz.
I am really shocked because they've always been really sweet people, and I know they're very God-loving and they're caring and considerate.
It was that love and caring that prompted the Schatz less than 3 years earlier to welcome 3 Liberian orphan girls into their home and hearts.
This is Princess Nanfor, and she's 8 years old.
The entire family shared their joy with Action News just days before their adopted daughters joined the family.
For us, this was a perfect match because we could adopt 3.
3 is further alleged on February 3rd.
Fast forward to February 2010, and Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz are in a Butte County courtroom facing charges of first-degree murder for the death of 7-year-old Lydia Schatz and torture for critically injuring her 11-year-old sister.
How can someone do this to a child?
Butte County District Attorney Mike Ramsey says that on the night of February 5th, the Schatz held down little Lydia and beat the back of her legs using a plastic plumbing supply line. It lasted for hours, up until 1 a.m. when the 911 call was made. Medical responders revived Lydia for a short time, but it was too late. Her kidneys failed after microscopic damaged tissue entered her bloodstream. Paradise Police Sergeant Steve Rowe also discovered injuries on the back of the 11-year-old sister's legs. She was saved only after spending weeks in intensive care.
Obviously, what we look at is this is a case of torture, as we have charged, and murder.
And so on that Saturday morning in February, this Paradise family's cloistered existence came to an end. As Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz were booked into the Butte County Jail, one of their 9 children was heading to the coroner's office. Another was fighting for her life in a Sacramento hospital. The other 7 stunned children were taken into protective custody. Those who knew the Schatz family were more stunned than anyone the morning of February 6th. Their home seemed to be the picture of loving happiness. But once investigators looked deeper, the picture became clearer. And it appears to have ties to this book, a copy of which was found inside the Schatz home.
I'm Michael Pearl, and I am here to answer your Bible questions again.
Michael Pearl, the CEO of No Greater Joy Ministries in Tennessee, is the author of the book, To Train Up a Child. It advocates so-called biblical chastisement in training children, quoting Proverbs, "He that spareth his rod hateth his son." Hundreds of thousands have been living by the precepts touted in this book for more than 10 years. Don't think of the rod as a weapon of defense or a show of force. Think of it more as a magic wand. Pearl suggests swatting children, even infants, on their bare skin, tugging the hair of a nursing infant who bites. A general rule is to continue the disciplinary action until the child has surrendered. So why do investigators believe the principle of biblical chastisement was used in the Schatz home? They interviewed the children.
The children were helpful. The children told the truth because the children were trained to tell the truth.
Matthew Raley is an evangelical Christian pastor with congregants who knew or who were acquainted with the Schatz family.
A lot of people grieving, a lot of people angry.
Prompted by the tragic death of Lydia Schatz, Pastor Raley decided to preach against Michael Pearl's teachings from the pulpit.
Doctrinally, he is laying down foundations that, if you really apply them, give encouragement and rationalizations to child abusers.
Michael Pearl refused our request for an interview but offered this statement. We do not teach corporal punishment nor hitting children. We teach parents how to train their children, which sometimes requires the limited and controlled application of a spanking instrument to hold the child's attention on admonition. Over 1 million parents have applied these biblical principles with joyful results. Indeed, in his book and on his website, Pearl goes to great length admonishing parents to not punish children in anger and to never lash children to the point of serious injury. But what if a child is defiant? The DA is now working to piece together his theory on what happened in the Schatz home on that tragic night, but says the two older adopted girls, who were not raised from infancy under the biblical chastisement philosophy, were apparently not as accepting of the treatment as the Schatz biological children.
These children were viewed as the willful children within the family.
So how does Michael Pearl suggest parents deal with the willful children? If his crying turns to a true, wounded, submissive whimper, you have conquered. He has submitted his will. But if his crying is still defiant, protesting, and other than a response to pain, spank him again.
Anything further that we need to address today? No.
On March 18th, Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz entered pleas of not guilty to murder and torture charges. Afterwards, Kevin Schatz's attorney said this.
The family is heartbroken and still in shock over this tragedy.
So were Kevin and Elizabeth Schatz simply misguided in their methods of child rearing? Does Michael Pearl bear any responsibility for the death of Lydia?
Do I find his particular discipline philosophy repugnant? Absolutely. But in the situation that we have here, I'm not trying the world. I'm trying a specific case here with two parents that beat one child to death and nearly beat another child to death.